Hey there, spirits, and welcome back to the graveyard. My name's Soul, and this is my ghost friend, Art.
Hello, bitches!
In this video, I'm going to show you how I made these really cool, low-poly 3D models in PicoCAD and how I incorporated them into a live DJ show that I was doing visuals for. Let's get the party started. DJ, put that record on. A couple months ago, my sibling got invited to do a live DJ set with a couple other DJs in VRChat. If you don't know what VRChat is, it's a virtual reality game that players can put on custom avatars and go into community-built worlds and interact socially. Since they were going to be doing the live DJing, they asked me to come on and do the visuals for their set. Now, we're really inspired by a lot of the concerts we go to and the visuals that they have at their show, like Porter Robinson, Madeon, Jai Wolf, and San Holo, for example. So we decided to watch the visualizers for their shows and figure out the elements that we would need to create our own. Most of the visuals consisted of a background, a center element, and something we called borders, which is whatever the pieces are that are mirroring the middle section. Once we knew what we had to collect, it was time to decide on what kind of theme and look we were going for. We really liked the retro video game style, and PicoCAD, which is a 3D modeling program using the Pico 8 software, helped us achieve that Star Fox early video game low poly look that we were going for. About 2 weeks out from the live show, we decided on the theme of Sakura Night, which was basically cherry blossoms and nighttime cityscapes. Once we had our theme, it was a matter of collecting video assets, making our own 3D models, and creating scenes for the show. Sam and I already had some assets from our previous show that we did, so we reused some of those too. Sam did all of the high-res 3D modeling, and I did a lot of the 2D animation stuff. Now, I've never used PicoCAD before this project, and I only really learned about it from Brandon Greer, a pixel artist that I follow on YouTube, a little while ago. I'll link his channel up in the top right corner if you want more in-depth PicoCAD tutorials. As someone who comes from a 2D drawing background, it took me a little bit to understand how things move around in 3D space and how to understand form in 3D. And since this program is based off an old software, it's really limited and not really intuitive to say something like Blender. But once you have the basic shapes, you could go in and texture each face on the object, which are the flat pieces, and it's really nice because you can export that texture, which is just a 2D flat image to draw on. And then once you do your pixel art on it, you can then put it back and cover the model and have it stretched over the form. Here, you can see me working up in difficulty with the models that I was working with. I first started with the soda can that was very simple shaped, and then after that, I went on to a tree that was very organically shaped. And lastly, I did a Tesla, which is the car that my sibling has. For the Tesla, I used one of the free example works that came with the program and basically reworked it to fit the car that we wanted. The other thing about PicoCAD is that it uses the Pico 8 color palette, which is very limited, and you can see me texturing here with the wrong colors. I pulled this palette off the internet thinking that it was the Pico 8 color palette, but I guess it was just slightly off. I tried to put it back into the program and it messed up all the colors, so I had to redo it and fill those colors in with the correct Pico 8 color palette. After we built out a bunch of assets, it was just a matter of importing it into our VJing program, which we used Resolume this time around, which was the first time that I was working with this program as well. So I had about a week to figure out how this program worked so that I could use it live during our show. Now, this program was a lot more advanced than our last program that we were using, but it's actually pretty industry standard when it comes to VJing in the industry. But once I figured it out, it was pretty easy to build scenes and have different elements sit over each other. This feature, it was something I couldn't really do in the last program that we used, so it was a bit of a learning curve, but it definitely made a better show for us in the end. It was really cool because you could build up scenes in layers, kind of like how you do with drawing programs, except instead of images, you could use video assets or a GIF, and then you add effects onto those layers to do different things. So we could do ones where they were scrolling in the background, or do tiles with multiples of the same image over and over again. So there was so many different effects that you could add onto these things that that's basically what we did to make the visuals that we were doing. We just kept adding effects onto things and seeing what looked cool, and then we would build scenes around those. I'm not an expert in Resolume, so I won't really be going over how to use it, and I'm sure there's a lot of great videos out on YouTube that you could use if you ever wanted to learn. One really cool thing that the program lets you do is map keys and MIDI keys to different actions in the program. So I had a launchpad with a bunch of different buttons and a MIDI fighter twister to do things with knob work. Now the knobs are really cool because you could do things like fade to black and change the speed at which the video clip was playing back at. Once we kind of had a set of visuals that we were working with, which was only about 10 scenes put together, we had a couple of days to practice. Now, we only had the first 9 songs out of an entire hour playlist picked out because my sibling likes to mix live and pick random songs every single time, which was fine for them, but for me, I didn't know most of the songs that they were choosing, so it was kind of hard for me to get some timing down for some of the drops or build-ups that were going on. I could kind of figure out what was going on because I knew the basic structure of a song, but sometimes it was a little hard for me to know when it was a big drop or not. So basically, the rest of the show, after the 9 songs that we had, I had to improvise and trigger all of the scenes by hand the day of. And on top of that, about 1/3 of the way through the show, I ran out of my pre-made scenes, so I was just throwing together random assets that were pre-built and made new scenes with them for the show. At the same time, I was triggering new effects and making new scenes. The show that we were performing at was actually really cool because the visuals that we were doing on our computer would get sent to VRChat and it would show up behind a stage on a really big screen, basically like a real concert would. So it was actually a really cool experience. And while it was showing in VRChat, it was also streaming to Twitch and YouTube at the time. Here's a little snippet of what the visuals looked like from the live stream. As hectic and crazy as it was during the day, it was also really fun, and the hour went by super fast. Now, I'd like to remind everyone that this was my second VJing show that I did live. and I did it with a program that I've never used before, with a 3D modeling program that I've also never used before. So I would say for 2 weeks of prep, it turned out really good. And once the show was over, we got a lot of compliments from people that attended, including the person who made the club that we were performing in. Now, if you would like to watch our performance entirely, I'll put a link to it in the description with the timestamp to where our set was. And you can watch the show that we made over there. Overall, we had a really good time, and building out the visuals for a show has been on my radar for a little while now after seeing a lot of really great visuals from concerts that we've attended. I would love to make a full pre-planned show someday with a full theme and characters and assets that we made ourselves. Even though it was kind of last minute, I think our theme and limited color palette I applied to the show really made all of our mismatched assets come together. And it looks like we're going to be doing another show here in the next couple of weeks. So if you would like to watch us perform live, come follow me over on my social medias, and I'll probably post about it when it gets closer to the date. But I wanted to take a moment right here to pause and announce that I released this video on my birthday. At this point of time in recording, the channel is at 240 subscribers, which is crazy to me. And I wanted to thank you, spirits, for all the support that you're giving me, and I hope you continue to enjoy and support my videos. So hit that like button, subscribe, and share the video with your friends if you're enjoying the content that I'm making. And as always, if you have anything you'd like to share with me, art related or not, tag me on any of my social medias. And until next time, see ya!